Unscripted. KSU. Quick, tactical conversations from the heart of the power sports industry. In this business, time is torque. So hit the ignition, twist the throttle, and let's fire it up.
Mark Sheffield, episode 14. I just got that wrong on the next episode. We're all confused. We just had an awesome interview with David Baker. That's going to be coming out shortly after this episode. So here we are. So I know we're excited for AIM. This is probably one of our last episodes coming out before AIMExpo. We'll be there. We're talking to a couple different companies. We're talking to MaxOp. We're talking to Cycle Worldwide. We're talking to Results Guru. Super excited about that conversation and more to learn there from that company and what they're doing in the space. We're talking to Lightspeed. We're talking to Impel. We're talking to
we didn't sell out or anything like that. So, but yeah,
I can't see that. What is it? What does it say?
Lightspeed.
Lightspeed. Yeah. We're talking to. Who else are we talking?
We are not sponsored by Lightspeed.
Who am I missing? Anyone?
Nope. You got MaxOp. You got John from MaxOp. So I already said that twice. We got possibly Ted from Lightspeed. We got Results Guru, and I can't remember any of their names. So hopefully we'll have those written down by the time we get there.
Jennifer, Brian, and Jean-Marc.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
And we got some other people. So yeah.
Excited.
I think that we ought to quit numbering these episodes because you screw it up in everyone.
Every time, but that's okay.
Let's just let's come up with another system for a naming convention for a podcast.
We'll talk about that offline and figure it out. But anyway, you told me the other day about, we don't even really have a plan for this episode, first and foremost. Let me go ahead and start the pod clock. 10 minutes.
I'm going to get one of those things.
That'd be nice. You seem to rant a lot, so I'm sure you're going to go over here. But you told me about something the other day in your conversation with Sergio over at Cycle Worldwide that I thought you could sit here and ramble about for a few minutes and tell us some more exciting information there. Go ahead.
Ramble. That's what this is now.
This is a ramble. This is we should change the name from Raw Unscripted to like Raw and Unscripted Mark Rambles or something of that nature.
A Ramblecast?
Yeah, ramble. That's not bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Trademark that. Last week, Sergi from Cycles Worldwide, and maybe not everybody knows who he is, but he's kind of working on building a new digital marketplace for motorcycle dealers. And, he is starting to build out the technology and get inventory feeds from dealers. And I think he's up to 17,000, 18,000 vehicles that are hitting his website at this point in time. And he reached out to me. He was a little bit frustrated because the quality of the inventory feeds that he's getting are on a good day pretty bad. And I'm not talking about like the technical quality. I'm talking about the actual quality of the listings that dealers are putting online on their websites at this point in time. He pointed out that a lot of the used inventory, dealers aren't putting mileage, or they're using the factory stock image with a used listing. Sometimes they're not even putting images up. And, a lot of cases, they only have a price to go with the vehicle. And he said it's kind of making it really tough for him because he's having to go back and tell a lot of dealers, you got to put some effort into listing vehicles on your website if you want them to sell. It was always a frustration of mine when I was working, doing the 20 group gig, is that a lot of times before we do a dealer visit, I would go and take a look at a dealer's website and take some screenshots and then put it up on the projector during the meeting and just kind of, here's some things that I think you ought to work on. And, two things that really always kind of irked me was dealers who had all this inventory listed on their website, and then every photograph that they had was a factory photograph. It wasn't anything custom. It didn't show their dealership. It didn't show anything unique to that business. It was just, here's the factory photo that the manufacturer took in a green screen. And, why does that make you any different from the other 5,000 dealers out there that have got the same vehicle listed on their website as well? And then, on the used inventory, go out and take some decent photos of it. A lot of times you go and look at the leads that dealers get from their inventory listings, and what's the first question the customer asks? Can you send me a couple more pictures of it? Because I couldn't see the tank, or I couldn't see the odometer or the dash, or there was a scratch on the side, and I just wanted to see how bad that was. So, I think that if you're going to have a website, maybe put a little bit of effort into it. And, there's different ways that dealers have come up with to get those photographs on their site. You've got some dealers that have the salespeople do it. You've got some of the bigger dealers now that have a dedicated, I wouldn't say a marketing person, but kind of a, somebody who's taken photographs of those units and then uploading those. Some dealers, it might be sales manager who's doing it themselves. It's kind of different depending on the size of the dealership and what role you want your salespeople to play in that. But, I got so ticked off at a dealer a few years ago. I was just like, you probably would save money if you shut your website down and didn't even have one, because you're spending $1,000 a month, and then every listing that you got on there says call for price, which realistically, if you're going to say call for price, you might as well just use a link to your competitor's website who's actually putting pricing on their website, because trying to use that old, well, I don't want to give the customer too much information because then they're just going to take that and go shop somebody else. We live in the age of the internet. People already have too much information. They know what you paid for it. They got a pretty good idea on how much time it took you to prep it and get it ready. They know what the manufacturer charges for freight. They know what a good deal is. So I don't think that by trying to hold back and giving customers information is going to make you a better dealer. It's going to help you sell any more product. I got the car dealership guy newsletter this morning, and they pointed out a couple of things that dealers are doing, the successful dealers, and one of those is being easy to do business with. And if you're just making it really tough for a customer to do business with you, they're going to go find somebody else. So there's a lot of other options out there. What are your thoughts? What ticks you off, Kyle, when you got to buy stuff online?
I was literally going to say that, the pricing of like call for pricing drives me nuts. Several months back, I went and bought a new vehicle. And I ran into that even in the auto space. They still do it, and it drives me nuts. And then you jump through all these hoops, and they want to get all your information first, and which is fine. And I understand the process. I've been in the space long enough. I understand it. But also, like you said, you can find out the information. I can pull up chat and have it pull up all the prices and the closest 30 dealerships around me and compare and contrast and all that good stuff now, as we live in the age of the internet where you should have that on your website. I don't think it is an excuse. So I was interested to hear you say that in the similarities between automotive and power sports. That's super interesting. And the listings itself, I mean, that seems like such a basic thing to me, right? You list something, you should be proud of it. So take the pictures, put the details in there, attention to detail, right? If you don't do it on the front end, you're not going to do it on the back end. A lot of customers think, right? They're going to think, hey, this dealer doesn't even care about listing the vehicle, right? And putting on the information. So they're even going to care when I walk into the dealership or when I have to take my vehicle into service. I think it translates the entire life cycle of that customer and really is a reflection on your organization. I agree with you. I think it's powerful.
Yeah, I'm not going to drop their name. There's a dealer out in California that I did a dealer visit probably 6-7 years ago, and kind of halfway through, I was like, "Where's your used inventory at?" And they're like, "Our used inventory is mixed in with all our new inventory." And, they had a professional detailer that worked for them, and their used inventory looked new. I literally completely overlooked it. But,
Wow.
what I also saw with that is that this was a 20 group dealer. And after I saw how that inventory looked, I understand why they were making 6 or 7 points more on average on their used inventory than everybody else. And they were spending more to get it ready, but the customers paid all the money for it as well.
You got to spend money to make money in all aspects of this business. Hire the right service managers, hire the right salespeople, hire the right detailers.
We've got a little internal kind of a list of things that have been said at Woods over the years. And I think one of the ones that I put on there years ago was, I said, I don't need a team of managers who think like I do to tell me what I already know. And I think that's a big failure that a lot of people make, is that they don't want to they don't want to have a combative relationship with their managers, and not combative, but they still want to be challenged. They don't want to be questioned. And I guess I already know what I know. I want to know what other people know. You know, I want to have 3 different opinions that are put up for every solution, and you know, debate why one is better than the others. And then, you know, it's not always going to be mine. And if you think that, you know, there's only two options to every question, you know, yours and the wrong one, then probably need to start over again.
Absolutely. As the great Jim Collins says, be a time teller and not a clock maker. And what he means by that is if you're just a clock maker and you're out of the picture, the clock stops working. If you're a time teller and you have other clock makers building that for you, you can always tell the time, and that continues to function and operate without you. So you need good people around you. I think that's what you're kind of saying, right? You need really good people around you. You need to empower those people to make decisions and bring and challenge your decisions, even if you're in the management position, because it takes a really well-oiled, good team and collaboration to make the business successful.
Jim Collins, is that like a brand of whiskey, or I'm not up on clockmakers?
Jim Beam's late cousin, yeah.
Okay, all right. Hey, I just went to the Jim Beam Distillery a few weeks ago, so up in Kentucky. It'd be cool, pretty cool tour.
He's an author, Mark. He's an author. I'll send you one of his books as a Christmas present. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. The cutoff, it's 12/19 today, so you might have to overnight that. So I think you were dead on that this was going to be a rambling episode, and that's exactly what it's been. I actually have to go off and film another podcast episode. Is it still podcasting when there's video anymore? I don't know what I don't know what the legal thing is, but we'll say that, you know, this is episode 19.2 or whatever it is at this point in time. But we did get our interview with David Baker knocked out, and that's kind of going through the process of Kyle touching up his image and photoshopping his hair before that we could publish that. But that has been done, and so that should hit probably sometime the week after Christmas as well. So hope I always try to time that so that it goes off when you're talking. Missed it. But anyway, I think the interview with Baker was really interesting, and it's nice to see an executive from one of the big players in the industry willing to kind of take off their corporate 3-piece suit and come out and talk with the regular people. So pretty cool. I think everyone will like that. What are you doing for Christmas,
Absolutely.
Kyle?
Staying put, man. Got some young kids, so making it as special as I can for them and hanging out. My parents are in town, so should be fun. What about you?
I got a lot of work to do, so I'll probably be grinding away. So I got a couple of cool projects that I'm not publicly speaking about right now, but got some cool things in the works and kind of keeping me working 14, 16 hours a day right now. But I think it's going to be good, and I'm excited to sometime in the new year to be able to talk about what I'm doing.
You wouldn't want it any other way, Mark. You love it. But hey, on a side note, as we end this episode, one of these episodes, we got to see you on that motorcycle back there, maybe doing some donuts in the room or something. That'd be pretty cool. What do you think?
Probably not.
Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you at AIMExpo. Look forward to that David Baker interview episode coming out soon. Mark, any Markisms you want to leave us with?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. Take care.
Appreciate you riding with us on Raw and Unscripted. KSU. We'll be back next week with more ways to rev up your dealership success. Until next time, keep the throttle wide open.